Well, good morning or good afternoon, whatever the time might be with this asynchronous process. I have no idea what time you'll be watching this, but whatever time it is, welcome. My name is Mr. Meier. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the specifics about your child's class, Intro to Engineering. Fairly small group, under 10 students uh, at this juncture. And what we're working on right at the moment, I want to go through a few things as to what we're working on, I should say. First of all, if they're looking for the text, it's right here. It's an online text that we're going to be utilizing, reading sections out of it, and then incorporating those into some of the activities that we will be doing. Um, the general format for how I have things set up in Schoology would be an embedded representation of the week. And then with that folder, you click that open and it has the items that we'll be using for that particular chunk of time. We go ahead and look at the tasks that they're working on right now, in addition to reading through a section of the online text that deals with what is an engineer and what does an engineer look like slash do. We've started off on this particular task, um, and specifically, they're going to be building a paper bridge. Um, they were sent a slab of paper, as some of them, I think, referred to it. It's about 100 sheets of just 8.5 by 11 photocopy paper, along with a roll of masking tape and a booklet, composition notebook that I went ahead and provided to them. Had a bunch extra, so better for them to have them and have them get used. But they're going to be working in teams of three, and specifically with the constraints that are shown here. And essentially, what they're wanting to do is make sure that they create a bridge that has a minimum amount of deflection, 5 centimeters. For those of you in the English measuring world, that's about 2 inches. So it can sag about 2 inches. But then what it also has to do is try to have the maximum span for the bridge while incorporating that. I'm having them work in groups of three because I actually want them to go through an initial construct, uh, and then also have the opportunity to revise and revamp. So at this point, the first person who's doing building, which then will also get the input from the other two people in the group, is going on right now. Once we get back on campus next week, then they will be a couple of revisions through. And then ultimately, what we'll do is with those groups of three, we'll end up with a situation where they will then create their final rendition and we'll test that. And the way it's going to be tested is to put an amount of weight on there, roughly 4.5 pounds is the maximum that it's going to be required to hold. And we'll see how those turn out. I've tried to emphasize to them that the constraints and the revision is really the main process here, that they're not there's an expectation of trying to do your best on each particular revision, but recognizing that you're going to learn something from those revisions, and also communicating with the other groups to see how they do. Although there's a competitive aspect within the grading format, so that will probably cut down on the amount of sharing of information. Um, I also wanted to touch base real quickly on a couple of the other things that we're going to be working with over the course of the year. Specifically, we're going to be making use of this particular website, Gear Up University. And what it involves is, if it gets there, is it's an approach that uses some online lessons that are more in tune with creativity and its application to the engineering realm. And because of the fact that I think that everyone in the class as a whole right now this year has a number of individuals that I think have high levels of creativity based on having experience with them in class last year. And I think that that's going to allow this particular process to flow pretty nicely. They're going to get some experience with doing some drawing with CAD and creating different geometric shapes. I would be not speaking truthfully if I said that I thought we will get through all of these in a sequence, but it's going to be something that I introduce to them, and then after the end of the semester, they can go back and pursue some of these on their own time if it's something that they see as an interest for them. Another item that we're going to pursue, and this is all with the expectation that we're going to be on campus reveling in the joy of each other's presence, is that we're also going to work on some of the events associated with Science Olympiad. Science Olympiad being a national competition, and the events that we'll be focusing on are the ones that involve building items. And so one of those is a gravity vehicle, and I can click on that. And what that entails is building this contraption, rolls down a ramp, and then what you have to do is it's not based on it going a particular distance, or I should say the maximum distance is not what's desired, but rather having it go as fast as possible to a predetermined distance, and it's determined when you get there to the competition, and then having it get there as fast as possible and stop exactly at that location. So it might be that you're given a requirement of your vehicle needs to roll down the ramp and then go an additional 5.83 meters. So what you would have to do then is tune your device to do such. Hopefully it does. And what we'll do is incorporate this, and if things work as I hope, then they'll also have an opportunity starting next semester then to either turn those items that they've developed over to second semester's class or participate in Science Olympiad for Bishop Seabury, assuming we get that team organized and going. The final thing that we're going to be working with, and this was something that we just purchased, were these particular robots as represented here on the screen. And these are what are called BOE-bots, BOE bots. I haven't heard anybody say it before, so I'm not sure of the particular enunciation. But what they're going to have an opportunity to do is some base level coding. And so what I want to do is to give them an opportunity to program and code those particular robots and get them to start to also recognize that when we say robots and robotics, it's not the robot on the Jetsons, okay? It's not the robots that are oftentimes depicted in science fiction movies, but actually it's really just an artificial intelligence piece that is around us all over the place. In fact, I'm using one to communicate to you right now. And so developing a different understanding, but then also understanding that foundation that is underneath all of it as presented to us in the world has some, it's all essentially goes back to ones and zeros in that binary code that gets presented to cause something to do one thing or another in terms of logic gates. That is my particular diatribe, whatever you want to call it, with regards to the upcoming semester. If you have questions, always feel free to contact me via email, or if you need to provide me some information. I know that with this being the fall semester, I have no idea how campus visits are going to, what those are going to look like for seniors. And so if you have one scheduled, by all means, feel free to communicate to me about that ahead of time and let me know when that's going to be so that I can anticipate your child's absence and then make sure that they're squared away and good to go with regards to any responsibilities they may have for class. Well, thank you for watching, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch this. and enjoy the rest of your day.